Life Trading Pre-Market Day Trading Show. All right, what is up, team and YouTube? It's Robert here. Good morning. Sure, all my Zoom controls are up. Let's see, let's turn that off. So, here we go. CPI this morning through the roof. So I expected they would sandbag the number right at the expected amount, which was like 7.2, and they did actually go over it. So inflation's so high they can't even lie about it. I mean, I don't know who was buying stocks yesterday. This was just like, if you were buying stocks yesterday, like please reach out to someone here at RLT, because you were chasing. And if you chase in this market, you die. So this is going to be a huge abandoned baby. Now, I expect it to retest a little bit. I mean, gosh, are we really going to leave this thing just hanging out there on the SPY? I don't know. Man, I don't know who was buying stocks and holding them overnight. That was just seemed insane to me going into the CPI report. So the market's now pricing in. I don't think that the Fed's actually going to do a 50 basis point hike, but the market's actually pricing that in. It's kind of interesting. We are about to go through 2% on the 10-year. Rick Santelli's having an aneurysm on CNBC about the Fed, not doing anything. So, yeah. Here we go. Yeah, good morning out there. Let's see. Let's look at crypto. Crypto, oh wow, big surprise. What? I thought crypto was an inflation hedge. I thought crypto like moved on its own. Because it looks like it just reacted to the CPI number. I don't know. Weird. Very weird. Just like that, Ethereum was down 4%. Yeah, crypto reacting just like the overall market. I mean, it's going to be a big gap down on everything. So, yeah. I don't know what else to say. They've like lost control of inflation now. Eventually, if we just keep saying it's peak inflation, like we're going to be right, because this is how like the reporting works. So let's just start with $1. Whatever in the economy costs you $1. So this is let's say January of 21, right? So January of 21 costs you $1. So with the report today, January of 22, they're saying, hey, whatever costs you $1 is now costing you $1.07.5, right? 7.5% inflation. So that's the increase of 7.5% year over year. Now, eventually we're going to catch up to comps, which was like, I think April of last year when inflation really started taking off. And they said, oh, it's transitory. It's going to go away by June, and, all this madness. So, like, let's say we get to April, or, let's just pretend that this is April and you had this like 7% print. Well, now, if we only go from 1.075, and then let's say we go to like 1.095, they're going to say, see, the increase is less. Or let's say it's just 2. It's only 2%. We told you inflation is transitory. Your prices never drop. They just stop, ramping up as high. So it's like that doesn't help anyone. But that's what they're going to tell everybody. Because eventually it'll catch up to a month where we had a really high print. And then they're going to say, see, inflation's going away. Your prices are never really going to go back down. And especially never back to where they were before. Don't you just love government? Statistics never lie, but liars always use statistics. Yeah, this is going to be a nasty gap. There's some people trapped. Now, it was low volume yesterday on a lot of things because, it was only... not everybody was chasing everything. But, yeah, we're going to be trapping... We're going to be trapping quite a few people out there. Here's Disney. They had a great report, by the way. Don't want to take anything away from Disney. I am in some Disney. I do expect that this is going to fade. I do think Disney's dip viable. This just goes to show you how much inflation there is, even with like some restrictions still in like Disneyland. Disney World, obviously, in Florida does not have them. Record revenue for Disney in the parks. So demand is there, and then they just raise the price of everything. So Disney does have pricing power. Even if you had a little bit less people, if you raise the price a bunch, it makes up for it. Record revenues at Disney and their Disney Plus numbers absolutely killed it. So I am in some Disney. I think I have about 80 shares. I was snagging throughout this. I think I got a couple shares over here and then the rest in here. I almost bought some more yesterday, but I'm like, I'll wait for the report. And yeah, gapped up pretty large. So I'm going to have to wait for a little pullback. Then I'll probably get in some more Disney. Twitter. So Twitter had a bad report. Their numbers were terrible. It was gapping up on that they were going to buy back stock. I don't know what they're going to buy back stock with because this company just burns money. But with the inflation print, it's pretty much flat. So maybe Twitter is trying to break out of this downtrend. It's just been getting an absolute beatdown. But it's going to be a little tough for them. Twilio had a good report, though. So Twilio was pretty beat up. This was down a mere 60% off of its high. So they had a good report. It's gapping up. It's gapping up right to the 50. So I expect this to fade. Kind of already fading pre-market. Twilio had a good report, though. Datadog also had a good report. This one not as beat up as some of the others, I don't think. I think this is only down, at one point this was only down like 30 or 40. Yeah, 40%. And it's already back up. We're only like 14% off the high. So Datadog had a pretty good report. Already fading a little bit. Just because of that CPI number, it's not going to be good for tech stocks, I think some people were actually convincing themselves like, oh, you know what? Maybe it's not going to be, maybe they're only going to raise rates like once or, twice. Now, I don't think that they're going to do it like 12 times like JP Morgan wants. But I do think they are going to have to raise more than people really think. So it's going to be a tough day for tech stocks. Here's the TLT. So TLT goes down when rates go up. So I'm assuming that banks are up. Banks a little bit of a spike. Bank of America is probably your most sensitive to interest rates. Very nice gap on BAC. Actually, we should probably we're not going to trade this, but we'll throw it on the list just to kind of be our barometer for bank stocks today. man. Coca-Cola. So they had earnings. This one's gapping up a little bit. It's already very high though. Personally would not be like coming and buying Coke now. Pepsi had earnings, I think, as well. Looks like it's gapping down a little bit. Interesting. Bomdod wants to look at HD, so Home Depot. I'm just hanging out in here. It's going to be a tough day out there for stocks. I mean, this pretty big number. This is the highest inflation since 1982. So if we can keep the inflation up for a couple more months, we might be able to make it to the 1970s. Who said you couldn't go back in time? And we have no we have no Fed meeting until next month. Oh man, it's gonna be interesting. That's for sure. Uber. So Uber, their report actually wasn't horrible. Like when you first look at it, but the only reason they made money was from investments in other businesses. Their actual like core businesses is not profitable. Still, never been profitable. Probably never going to be profitable. So personally, I do not like Uber at all. I would sell the rip. Um, I was hoping it was going to open higher because that would want me to make me want to short it even more. It's opening right at the 100. Yeah, I think this is a fade. That's a fade for sure. I like the product. I hate it as a company. It's just a giant dumpster fire of cash. And if you believe in the Tesla, like eventually like morphing into robo taxis, like Uber's dead. So I don't see Uber ever making money. So Neo, this could be an interesting gap too. Oh man. So Neo has actually been cracking finally. This is the one Chinese stock that was holding up pretty good. I mean, I think a Neo eventually comes all the way back into like $10, 12.50. They don't make they don't make that many cars. This is a pretty decent gap. You have a lot of bull candles in a row, so you'd expect like some type of bearish candle. XPEV actually makes more cars than Neo, by the way. But for some reason, like people don't like this one as much. I'm not sure what it is. I think it's actually even. Let's see, Neo. What's the market cap? 40 billion. They make like 12,000 cars or something. XPEV actually makes more cars, and this is only at 32 billion. So it's, I don't know, it's kind of weird. I think their growth is better too. XPEV, but people don't really like that one as much. I don't buy any Chinese stocks, and don't see myself doing so anytime in the near future. Man, the Q's is just getting wrecked. Yesterday was one big giant. It's a trap. Very nice gap on Disney though. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know what's gonna happen today. Again, I just don't think we're gonna leave this huge open gap here, but maybe we will. Maybe we will. This is a That's a pretty big rip lower. Like usually they try to find some justification and like for the stabilize and like then we roll over during the day. This is a pretty large gap down. I'd probably expect a little bit of buying and then it's a roll. Can I explain what is a gap? So it's just the price. So price closed up here. And it looks like we still got 14 minutes, but we're going to open down here. That's a gap. Like if I turn off extended hours, so price closed up here, and right now my thing moved. So the price closed up here, and right now we're down. We're down here. So this is a gap. That's a gap action. A retest is just for it to retest into the gap, try to fill it a little bit. Micron, so this was gapping up overnight. I mean, Micron bounced nicely, but it has made a pretty large move, so I would expect this to retest a little bit, and then I think it could be a buy. Back down into like 85. So it made a new all-time high here. Came all the way back down to strong support. Bounced pretty nicely, made a higher low. I think the rip yesterday and a lot of things is just, it was like a lot of chasing, a lot of FOMO. You could almost like feel the FOMO. I was reading on Twitter, like some people like, we're going back to new all-time highs. So I don't think that's really happening. Not yet. Eventually, we probably get back to all-time highs at some point this year, but I don't think it's gonna be as soon as some people think, and like as fast as it's been a lot of times. Yeah, everything gonna look the same for the most part. Tesla was trying to break out of this zone yesterday, just ran into the 20. The 20 has kind of been a strong resistance for it. Yeah, Disney, again, Disney crushed it. Great earnings. They obviously have pricing power, right, John? So, they can just keep raising their prices to keep up with inflation. CMG said the same thing. They said, hey, we don't see any, they've raised their prices, and they're like, we don't see any price resistance. We think that we can continue to raise prices if need be. So, in an inflationary environment, you really want something that has pricing power. That can continue to raise prices while not hurting demand. But I do think that it fades a little bit more today. It's a very large gap. It's Disney. It's a fairly big company. 264 billion. The dollar store is now the $1.25 store. Yep. Good old DLTR. Yeah, I already looked at Twilio. It's a good gap. I do think it fades a bit. It's already starting to fade pre-market. Just because it's going to be tough for growth stocks today. Mattel. Nice gap on Mattel. I guess they have pricing power too. I didn't really read their earnings at all. This thing's been going sideways for like a year. It is Mattel, so I don't think it's just going to gap and just completely crush. It probably gaps, retests, and then goes higher. Because if you're in Mattel, like say you're buying down here, and you get a gap like this, you're probably going to take some profits. And it is a retest gap. By that I mean it's a bullish candle gapping up into an all-time high. Not an all-time high, but high all the way back to 2017. So yeah, you're probably gonna get a little profit taking. But yeah, like some of these things that were like trying to bounce, the Palantirs, the Squares, the PayPal's. Ugh, it's gonna be nasty today. What else? Like Arc, this one's gonna have a tough day. The Teledocs. All these things that have been in like horrible downtrends, probably gonna be a tough day for them. But we will see. Like I said, this is a very, very large gap down. So I do think that there could be some buying. Just because if you're short, I mean you're if you went short like right before CPI, you're up pretty darn solid. So you might be wanting to buy to cover to book some gains. So, that buying to cover causes the first bottom. Then you get some dip buyers, and then we kind of run out of steam and roll over. Again, I do think I just personally think that we make new lows um, before the next Fed meeting. At least test these lows, but I think we're going to make new lows for the Fed meeting. And when they raise interest rates, then everyone's like, oh, the world's going to end. And then the market's actually like, oh, okay. We can survive a little couple interest rates. I think the reopen is so strong that a couple interest rate hikes aren't going to really do a whole lot. Other than kind of take the free money punch bowl away. It's kind of interesting that this could end up being a nice like double top right in here. Although I would prefer there's not like a huge gap in here. Although even if we do this, like maybe we'll retest and then roll over. I don't know. We'll see what happens today. Think maybe just gap fill and go higher? No, I don't think that happens. Like we just fill this gap and then just keep going. I don't think that happens. I mean, it could, but I don't think that happens. Wouldn't this help tech? Inflation soaring? Not really. Well, it depends on. Maybe I shouldn't say tech because it depends. Like, if it's a company that still makes money, sure. But a company that doesn't make money, it's as the rates go higher, it doesn't get anything but harder for them. Let me go look at Bitcoin again. The government's down on their Bitcoin that they that they took back or stole or whatever you want to say. They seized. Yeah, it'll be interesting to see what happens when we open. Like I said, I do think that we'll get some fade. This is just it's a really big gap very quickly. I would have just preferred that we like open right underneath the candle. But again, I don't know who was buying stocks yesterday. I mean, I was trading things bullish. I traded Facebook bullish. Actually, the lines are still there. But this thing, been like so beaten down. I get the whole day trading of things bullish yesterday, but if you were buying stocks for swing trades, man, I have no clue why. Should have sold some calls, but if the numbers were good, I held off thinking there would be a better opportunity. Oh, that's okay. As long as you weren't chasing stuff, like I think that's fine. Yeah, as long as you weren't buying a bunch of stocks yesterday. Like if you were buying like down here or here, and you rode this up a little bit, like cool. But if you're buying yesterday and holding overnight, I mean that just or like buying calls yesterday, and I don't know who was buying calls yesterday. That just not seem smart. Yeah, Facebook probably. Let me just delete these. Obviously, I got out way too early, but it is what it is. Um, Facebook is into some good support. It is very, very extended to the downside. Now, that does not mean that it can't go lower. It definitely can. Um, I think that eventually this thing could come into like 200, but I would expect it to kind of hang out. Then, if the overall market rolls over, then this rolls over with it. Even based on Momo, you believe it should not have been a buy. I don't really use Momo like that much, but depends on what you're looking at. I don't see a bullish flip. Still short. Still short. This one still short on the daily. Still short. And this one flipped. Delta. Maybe Apple. Apple's yeah. Apple's bullish. A lot of these are still short, man. Still short. Yeah, I'm not trying to make anyone feel bad. I just like you have to take a look at some of these macro things. Snap is crazy. Like people thought they were expecting this thing to just have an absolutely horrible report, which is probably why it gapped up because there were so many people trying to short the hell out of it right before. So I don't know what Snap's going to do. We'll see. It's very interesting. Then this huge gap up, pretty much right back to where we were before. So that's going to do it for the YouTubes. Market's about to open. We'll catch y'all on the flip side. Be careful. I think market's going to have a lot of volatility over the next week. And yeah, we will see y'all